Welcome to the Fantasy Focus. Today's live stream show is presented by Hotwire. You can watch us every day, weekdays, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube feeds, as well as the ESPN app. And if you're listening to the audio feed, today's podcast is presented by Geico. You can download Fantasy Focus wherever you get your podcasts. And with that, we say hello, happy Monday. August 23rd, Field, Matthew, Stephania back with you. Daniel as well after the conclusion, except for one game left, of week 2 of the preseason. Tonight, we have Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars.
I've heard of him.
You have?
I have.
You are so informed.
A lot of people say I don't pay attention, but hey now. I've done the deep dive on the rookies.
Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars play against Jameis Winston, another
I've heard
number
of him
one
too.
overall pick. Yeah. Taysom Hill. Have you heard of Taysom Hill?
I have.
How about that? Did you
There's
hear?
lots of players playing tonight that I've heard of. This is exciting.
Did you hear the exciting news
What's
that
that?
happened at the Jacksonville Zoo over the weekend?
I did not. I missed that.
I did. I heard it.
Yes, you did, Stephania?
Yes.
How about this?
But now I'm going to, was it a giraffe?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, it was a giraffe.
There were two baby
There was a
giraffes.
baby giraffe.
Is there a term for a baby giraffe? I don't
Baby
know.
giraffe.
Isn't a colt a baby horse or something?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know what the baby giraffe is.
Gerinfant, I think is what they call them.
Gerinfant.
Gerinfant.
Yeah.
So there were two
That's me.
gerinfants born at the Jacksonville Zoo. One male, one female. And guess what the name of the male?
Matthew?
Of
That would be breaking news.
That's the default
I know,
question.
I know.
know.
I know.
Why wouldn't they?
There's
Yeah.
nothing
Matthew and-
egocentric about this podcast.
No,
Not
listen,
at all.
I mean, like
The people of Jacksonville took a vote, and Matthew was the name that they came up
Matthew
with.
and Stephania. That feels like that should be. If you said there was one male, one female.
Yes.
Well, you asked me what they should have named the giraffants. It should have been Matthew and
By
Stephania.
the way, it's a calf.
It's a calf.
Calf is a name. A
Okay.
calf named Trevor. So Trevor Lawrence already making a huge impact in the city of Jacksonville. They're naming giraffes
Baby
after him.
giraffe.
Wow.
So cute.
Cut to
Darn
Mark
cute.
Brunell going, what am I, chopped liver here?
Well, Mark Brunell is the quarterback of Daniel Dopp's beloved Lions.
Quarterback
Coach,
coach.
I should say.
Yes.
Well, not the quarterback.
He is not.
Not the quarterback. Although Mark is still slinging
Watch
it.
out, Tom Brady.
But wouldn't you argue that Mark Brunell is the greatest quarterback in Jaguars history to
Yes.
date?
Yes, I would. David Garrard had a really solid career as well down there in Jacksonville. Byron Leftwich had some good moments, but yes, I think it's pretty clearly Mark Brunell. He took them to their greatest heights,
Yeah.
and now he's going to help lead the Lions to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Like, is he buying them tickets? Like, what's...
Wow.
I mean, like,
Let's
is he
talk
renting,
about
is he,
the Chiefs
is he
and
renting
Cardinals.
a, is like he
Respect for the
renting a
Lions.
bus and he's going to drive it? Like,
Wow.
is that what's going on? Like, how...
New week.
I just don't understand how
It's only
he's-
Monday, guys.
It's just, all I want to know is just someone explain to me how Mark Brunell is leading the Lions to the Super Bowl. Like did he get like one of those on location packages that they sell?
Yes, he went to
Is that what it is?
outlier.com/FFF, booked a room.
Right.
Yeah.
He bought it from the Washington football team, who's been giving that to their fans for
That's
the past
right.
25 years. They have been absent from the
Snap.
Thanks,
Super Bowl
Phil.
as well.
Maybe past 25 years, but you know what?
You've got
More
three.
recently than Detroit
That's
Lions.
a good point. It's a good point.
We got 3 more rings than the Lions,
Listen, I'm
baby.
just saying, as our buddy Evan Fox likes to note, and Daniel, I know you feel the same way too. 11-6 with a playoff win this year. Just got a sneaky feeling of the Lions. 11-6 with a playoff win. We'll see. Tell me who's wrong at the end of the season.
I would be happy to. Matt Harrington, please clip that. Please please clip Field Yates saying Lions are going 11-6 and winning a playoff game this
Maybe
year.
two. Maybe two.
And just because and he says, please remind me if I'm wrong. Tell me when I'm wrong. I will happily do it with
I
video
can't-
evidence.
By like week 7.
But,
When
yeah,
they're 0-6
listen,
already.
yeah, exactly. After when they have 8 losses, when the
No,
week 9 when they have 8 losses.
The best part about this is Matthew going to be ending up on Old Takes Exposed by giving you a hard time after they do win 11 games and get a playoff game.
Let's go.
Yes,
Let's go.
exactly.
All right, let's talk about the preseason games from this past weekend. There was one Thursday night. We dove into that one, Patriots and also the Eagles, who that was not a very competitive game. The Eagles didn't play many starters. Mac Jones looked good. But a piece of news here, just to quickly update the masses. So Patriots quarterback Cam Newton is not at practice today. The team is back on the field after a day off yesterday. And the Patriots issued a statement maybe about 30 minutes ago from this conversation we're having right now, noting that Cam is not at practice today because he is away from the facility until Thursday. Cam, on Saturday, went to a club-approved medical appointment, but there was some issues with the COVID protocols and testing and things of that nature. The team said he has continued to test negative and he has not done anything wrong. There was a misunderstanding is the proper word that I am looking for. So the news is that Cam will be gone until Thursday. That is part of the 5-day re-entry period for Cam Newton. So Mac Jones should be very busy over the next couple of days. I suspect that we will spend the next couple of days hearing and reading about reports like from the great Mike Reese about how Mac Jones fares not just today, but also Wednesday when the team hosts the New York Giants for joint practice. Anything, Stephania, you want to clean up in that or add? Obviously, we're still dealing with all these COVID protocols this season.
Yeah, no, I think you explained it very clearly. Basically, just so people are aware, if you are fully vaccinated, there is no re-entry quarantine. If you are not fully vaccinated, there is, as Field said, a 5-day daily testing. And all those days you have to test negative. And then on the 5th day, you can return.
And just, by the way, before people go crazy with this story, as Josh McDaniels echoed yesterday, the Patriots remain very clear in their stance. Cam Newton is the starting quarterback, but it does feel like it's probably just a matter of time. Now,
Field, I'm just going to ask this question because I know other people are going to ask it. Do you feel like that these rules, as you have just explained, Stephania has helped clarify, and I just sort of sat back because draft jokes is sort of where I end my contributions.
People
to
have been talking about that for years.
Yeah, obviously.
Like
In terms of what do you bring to the podcast, it's draft jokes. But do you feel like this rule, the 5-day re-entry period, if you are unvaccinated, does that in any way impact how you might draft or manage a fantasy team this year if there are players that have been vocal, and there are some that have been vocal about the fact that they are not vaccinated and they will not get vaccinated?
I feel like this came up last week. Maybe Mike was in for the day when we had this conversation. And I think it might have been the day that we were talking about the Vikings because Kirk Cousins, as we know, was very clear on his stance that he is not intending to be vaccinated. It's hard, Matthew, right? Because it's like, first of all, there might be players that are star players that are not going to offer their stance on the vaccine one way or the other. So we have no idea, and I'm not saying this with any information, but I personally have no clue what Christian McCaffrey's feelings about the vaccination are, as an example, right?
Sure.
I believe Patrick Mahomes is probably he's the most high-profile player in the NFL, so he has made it clear he is vaccinated, he's an advocate of the vaccine, but I don't think we're going to have enough information on a lot of these players to even be able to have this factor come into play.
Sure. But for the players that you do, again, Kirk Cousins, Cole Beasley has been, Cole Beasley released a song that was anti-vaccination.
Probably not, to be honest with you.
I mean, but maybe. So my question is somebody like that a player of like Kirk Cousins or Cole Beasley that have been very public about how they feel on the issue.
Yeah.
So if they come in close contact, it's 5 days. So like they get that on a Wednesday, they're not playing.
Right. So I think probably the answer for me would be at a single position that you start in fantasy, quarterback, usually tight end unless you flex a tight end. I probably would have a backup just in case. If I knew my player, if I was starting Kirk Cousins, and it might be worth having, whether it's a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance or any of the number, Baker Mayfield, Ben Roethlisberger. There are so many quarterbacks.
Right. If you're for me, I use it as a tiebreaker. Like to your point, like if I was down around in that range, like maybe there's another quarterback that quote unquote feels safer, but it also quarterback's a fairly replaceable position. Depends on the depth of your league and how active you think everyone in your league is on the waiver wire and what the ability of you to replace somebody that should be placed on the COVID-19 list. But anyway, it's just I get that question a lot, so I thought it was important since this came up to address it. I agree with you. I think if at anything, you're using it as a tiebreaker. But, listen, we want everyone to stay healthy.
Yes, we sure do. That much is for certain. Let's get into the Week 2 preseason games. And
do you know if baby Matthew and baby Stephania have little registry? Like, can you send the draftlets?
Gifts. Yes, you can send them carrots.
What is it?
A calf.
Drinfants.
Gerinfants.
It's not
the Gerinfants.
Yeah.
Can you send them like a gift?
Yeah, you can send them carrots.
Okay.
They love carrots.
Okay.
Because they got those big teeth.
Interesting.
They're so cute. You honestly got to go look at the Jacksonville Zoo Twitter handle.
Okay.
Yeah. Lots of carrots coming their way. Good for the nutrients, good for the eyesight as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag adorbs. It was raining on the way in. My hair is like going. I'm trying to get my hair. Like I don't have a lot of hair, so what little I have is important. And look at
my
Do
single
not
hair.
talk to me about rain on hair.
I mean, it's like because despite living in the Northeast, there's literally no parking garages in ESPN, and so you have to.
That is literally
park far away.
There's one.
Well, I mean, but it's building 12, and it's it's far,
let's
far away.
Let's talk about the Chiefs.
Literally.
How about that? Let's talk Chiefs Cardinals. People want to hear
we
football.
have covered a lot of ground here on the podcast so far today, but enough about hair and giraffes. Let's talk about the Chiefs and the Cardinals. And I just wanted to say quickly as we're going through all of these, in previous preseasons, obviously 2020 there was no preseason, but typically the flow was you'd see a little bit of starters in week 1, a little bit more in week 2, a healthy amount in week 3, and then basically none in week 4. It's hard to say where things are this year. Teams seem to be approaching it differently across the board. But from the Chiefs, we did see a little bit of Patrick Mahomes, but we're not here to talk about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is going to be at the top-rated quarterback on almost everybody's board. What we are going to talk about is just a couple of things, including Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which I thought was the most important thing that came from this game. Stephania, he left the game. What more can you tell us about CEH's health?
Yeah, I think we're still in a holding pattern. Andy Reid said it didn't appear to be a high ankle sprain. So that was really the best news that we got because obviously those tend to be a little bit more time consuming in terms of recovery. But he just said he was going to get it looked at. And I assume we'll have more information in the next couple of days.
The next man up, Matthew, would be, in your estimation, who would you want most? Because on Friday night,
Darrell Williams.
And Darrell Williams got the second chance. He actually got some time when Clyde Edwards-Helaire was still in the game on Friday night. So Darrell Williams would be the player that if you're looking for an insurance policy in Kansas City.
Yes, I think pretty clearly. There's a couple of things here. First off, Darrell Williams good. They like Darrell Williams there. He's really good in pass protection. Obviously, it's a team that is very pass heavy. So he's going to be on the field, even, assuming full health for CEH, and that's what we're certainly rooting for. He's still going to get a lot of snaps, Darrell Williams is, because they like him in short yardage. They like him in pass pro. And so I think there is some potential super deep league best ball value to Darrell Williams, but certainly if you draft CEH and you are one of the people that subscribe to drafting insurance, and I'm one of those people that, again, depends on if you have enough roster size, but bench depth. But yeah, I like Darrell Williams. I like him as a player.
So Mecole Hardman could be sort of one of those, not a sleeper. Everybody knows Mecole Hardman. He was a second-round pick a couple of years ago that had a lot of fantasy interest going into that season because that was the point when Tyreek Hill's future in the NFL was uncertain. Obviously, Mecole Hardman has not really had a major role with the Chiefs on offense, but he was targeted 5 times in the first drive. And I just want to refresh him as just a guy that, as we talk about, you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, good things can happen.
Sure.
And they need a third pass catcher right now beyond Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And especially if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to potentially miss some time early, maybe just stash the name Mecole Hardman away. I know that, again, he's not a new name, but he would sort of, last year I wasn't sure I wanted him in my late round bucket of Flyers. This year, I kind of do want him back in my late round bucket of Flyers.
1,000%. Look, he's had 6 career games with 4 or more catches. Averages 14.9 fantasy points per game in those games. Would have been wide receiver 20 on a per-game basis last year. He's currently going as wide receiver 54, somewhere in the T.Y. Hilton, Jalen Reagor range. Right. And obviously he is one hamstring pull away from, with Tyreek Hill to being like a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. So it feels like there's
I don't
more
know about that, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
If Tyreek Hill were out for the... You don't think you would rank Mecole Hardman like top 10 if he's the number 1 wide receiver for the Chiefs?
No. You really think that?
Dude, if Tyreek Hill is out for the game, we know for whatever reason Tyreek Hill is missing this game. I mean, maybe the first game he's in the top 15, but like the upside on the number 1 wide receiver for the Chiefs is astronomical, obviously.
It's also Tyreek Hill is also incredibly talented. Like, much better player than Mecole Hardman. Top 10 seems really steep, man.
I just think
we're picking nits right now.
I think in that offense with the kind of target share the number 1 wide receiver gets, you figure out the week and who they're playing and what the matchups are, and does he slide down and is he top 20 versus top 10? Okay, sure, yeah, fine. Depends on like who else all is out there, and
I'd say top 20 to 25 is where I'd be thinking for Mecole Hardman.
I don't know why you hate Mecole Hardman, but
I don't hate him, but let's hope it doesn't have to happen. By the way,
I understand that, but here's the 2 things I will say is that not being as good a football player as Tyreek Hill is a statement that's true for almost everyone in the NFL.
I know, but also this is a player who was drafted in the second round and so far has not come close to expectations.
This is correct, but he's also. There's not a lot of. They use a lot of different guys. They've gotten some. He's a young player. It's mostly a veteran team. I don't know. I'm more bullish on Miko. I'm more bullish on Miko Hart.
Fast. I'm just saying. I think top 20 to 25 is where you're gonna just take a look at the top 20 of wide receivers again, and then figure out whether you really think you jam him in there. I mean, you're talking about ahead of like Justin Jefferson, those type of players. Like, whoo, boy.
Justin Jefferson will move up. No, what do you mean ahead of him? I'm just, like,
he's like the number 10 wide receiver.
Maybe this week he's number 6. Who knows? Whatever.
Okay, I
think you're truly picking nits here. Here's I think what we can both agree on. And I think I'm more bullish on him than you, but I think where we can both agree, Field, currently going as wide receiver 54 in the T.Y. Hilton, Jalen Reagor range, and I think we can both agree that he certainly has more upside than either of those guys.
As insurance
given,
plays, sure.
Yeah, given the quarterback and the offense that he plays in. And so, yes, you're like, I might consider him as a late-round flyer. I think he is a very good late-round flyer.
All right, let's move forward here to the Bengals and Washington game. Your Washington football team wins 17-13. Saw 4 series of a lot of the starting offense, including Ryan Fitzpatrick. Logan Thomas had a nice 28-yard catch. Antonio Gibson looked pretty solid once again. Matthew, so my takeaways from this are no different than my takeaways were when they played New England the first week of preseason. Antonio Gibson looks good as a runner. Still not playing enough on third down for my taste. Would like to see him get out there more, but nothing has changed for me with these 3 players. Antonio Gibson's a solid RB2 with a chance to be an RB1 if he gets a more expanded passing game role. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a very useful other bye-week fill-in, potentially a deeper league starter. And Logan Thomas just a good, solid tight end.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I guess I think the third down usage thing with Antonio Gibson is being overblown.
Why?
Because he's getting more involved in the passing game. Like, he was the only player to get multiple catches from Fitzpatrick in this particular game, right? And so, yes, he is coming out on third down, but I think this is going to be a much more pass-heavy offense than it was last year. Yeah. Last year, they didn't have a lot of confidence in their quarterbacks, and they had to shuffle quarterbacks, right? And this year, they have confidence in Ryan Fitzpatrick. By the way, I think they also have confidence in Taylor Heineke. If anything were to happen to Fitz, this is going to be an offense that is much more pass-heavy than it was in previous incarnations. And so my expectation that even if Antonio Gibson doesn't play on every third down, doesn't play on that many third downs, do I think Antonio Gibson gets no pass catches? I do. Do I think there's a chance that Antonio Gibson gets 40-some-odd catches this year? I really do.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, but you also would concede that if they actually let him play on third down, when he had fewer snaps last year on third down than Amir Abdullah,
right,
that the upside would crank into a whole different stratosphere.
I think you mean J.D. McKissick, right? No. Amir Abdullah. Oh, you're. I'm
literally
sorry.
Amir Abdullah, who was like the 9th string running back in the Vikings, played more snaps on third down last year than Antonio Gibson did for the Washington football team.
Sure.
That's crazy.
All of a sudden Amir Abdullah sitting at home like, how did I get dragged into this thing? Yeah, that's last year when he was just trying to find his way onto the field. He's a rookie with a lot being thrown at him. He's in 2 different position group meetings. Listen, you don't like Antonio Gibson, I do.
That's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to. I'm just saying, like, he's going to be involved in the passing game. He's going to be involved in the passing game more than he was last year. I think there is a very easy path to him getting 40 to 50 receptions. Do I think it's like 70 or 80? Do I think it's McAfee? I don't. But do I think he gets, I think he is a borderline RB1 this year.
As we all have him ranked. But Daniel actually likes him because Daniel has him an RB11. You and I have an RB12. So Daniel actually likes Antonio Gibson.
I wish you would like Antonio Gibson as much as I do. I actually wanted to ask about a different rookie that is a pass catcher that had a pretty tough game yesterday. Does Jamar Chase and the drops problem that you saw not only in practice but then in the game, is that something that you feel like is going to impact the way that you're looking at him as a rookie?
I'm going to go to Stephania in a second here. But yeah, for those that haven't been following it closely, Jamar Chase has had some issues with drops throughout training camp. They reared themselves again when they played against Washington over the weekend. They have continued into practices since that game against Washington, and it's a confidence thing right now. Jamar Chase was not he had great hands in college, but here's where I think maybe it's going to level set, is that, I've been very clear about my feeling that T. Higgins is the wide receiver I want most out of the Bengals. It could be that by the time drafts are really in peak season, which is usually 10 or so, or maybe 7 or so days from right now, that you're going to see more T. Higgins in front of Jamar Chase. Stephania, what do you have to add on this one, though?
I talked with Jamar Chase when I was out at Bengals camp, and I think some of the things he said really are being reflected in what you're seeing. I mean, he talked about being out of football last year. Remember, this is the first time he's playing in 2 years. So he's got to get not only up to speed from rookie to the NFL, but rookie to the NFL without having played football in a year. And he told me that he's been working really closely with Joe Burrow on getting the timing down, that Joe's been really helpful in teaching him things he needs to know about the offense and where to be. I absolutely believe he's going to overcome this, but I've also said that I think he may have a slower start to the season. And this is potentially why. He's still going to be a big play guy, incredibly athletic. I will say this. Tyler Boyd with 2 touchdowns in their red zone 7-on-7s yesterday. I've told you not to sleep on Tyler Boyd. I would say that again.
Yep. Tyler Boyd, he just wash, rinse, repeat. Solid.
Tyler Boyd at cost is by far the Bengals wide receiver you want. He's going 4 rounds after Jamar Chase, 3 rounds after T. Higgins. Honestly, I think when you bake in the ADP, when you bake in what it costs to acquire this player, I would argue it should go Boyd, Higgins, Chase in terms of how you're drafting and redraft this year.
I've got Higgins, Boyd, Chase, but I don't think we're that far off in terms of how we view this Bengals receiving group.
One last thing before we move off of this game. I know you said you didn't feel like this really changed much for you on Logan Thomas. You just, he's tight end 7, whatever. I actually think I want to wait. I'm going to wait one more week. But I think there's a chance I move Logan Thomas ahead of Kyle Pitts, who I currently have as my tight end 6.
Interesting.
I think Logan Thomas is going to have a big year. Like, again, we talked about this, follow the money. They paid him really well. But the other thing is that, again, because of the quarterback play last year, they didn't have Logan Thomas really running a lot of deep routes. Like, it was a lot of close to the line of scrimmage stuff. He has the speed and ability to do that. And I think you will see that this year. I think you will see more big plays down the field. Think about sort of peak Gronk. Like in how, Gronk. No, I'm not comparing. Hang on.
Yeah, I will think about peak Gronk. Go ahead, tell me more about how Logan Thomas is peak Gronk.
No, merely this one particular piece. I'm not comparing him to Gronk. I am not. Stop it. I'm not comparing him to Gronk. What I am saying is that think about what a weapon down the field Rob Gronkowski was at his peak, and I'm just saying like. When you saw a tight end used that way, it was sort of like, whoa. And I do believe Logan Thomas has that in his skill set, not to the level of first ballot Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski. I am not crazy, but I am merely saying that I just think you will see his route tree expand and that he will be targeted much further downfield than he was last year, in addition to the close to the line of scrimmage stuff. I think Logan Thomas has a big year. There, bingo, bango.
Well said on that. We'll be back in just a minute with more thoughts on the Bills, Bears, and Mitch Trubisky Bowl. In just a moment, but I will say last night on Logan Thomas, I got emotional reading a profile of his by Dan Pompei in The Athletic. Dan, a fantastic writer. If you have The Athletic or have a few minutes, go read it. It's an amazing story of triumph for Logan Thomas. He has been through a lot. His incredible family's been by his side throughout it all. All right, coming back in just a minute.
Easy guy to root for.
No doubt about that. Bills, Bears in just a moment, but first, do you want to get in shape but you're having trouble staying motivated? Make 5-Hour Energy Shots part of your lifestyle and get the energy boost you need to get fit. We all know you sometimes do not want to go to the gym, but take a 5-Hour Energy Shot to give you the feeling and alertness so you can actually get to the gym. With 0 sugar and a convenient portable size is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore, like watermelon, tropical burst, cherry, peach mango, and more. There's a flavor for everyone. Try them all. And on the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, and that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can get some 5-Hour Energy product today, and you can use our promo code FFF to receive 10% off your order. This offer is not valid until This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today.
Do you own or rent your home?
Yep.
Sure you do. And I'll bet it can be real hard work. But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. And it's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around the home. So go to geico.com. Get a quote, and see just how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
You know what's interesting is advertisers actually choose Daniel to read.
Oh, they do. He does
Wow.
a great job.
I did so good until the last word.
Yeah, I know. Daniel has a lovely voice.
Yeah, geez, Matthew, what's Daniel done to you? Cut to Daniel Dopp, being like, what the heck, man?
Cut to me, being
right,
like this.
Let's move forward.
You're a man of 1,000 faces. Yes.
Thank you.
Now do it as an old-timey prospector.
Take a single. Oh, yeah.
Well, shoot dang. Why are you being so mean to me, Matthew?
All right, let's get back to the
favorite
Trubisky
character on
Bowl.
the fantasy show.
Agreed on that. Buffalo Bills smoked the Bears 41-15 in Chicago. Huge thank you to everybody that came out to the ESPN Chicago Fantasy Football Convention on Saturday morning. Randy Merkin and the entire team at ESPN Chicago do an outstanding job. It's always an honor to be a small part of that event. And fortunately, if you came to that event, you didn't have to watch the beginning of the Bears game because it was ugly on Saturday. They got smothered by the Bills. The story was Mr. Trubisky going back to Chicago and playing great in that win. Let's talk more about Justin Fields, though, Matthew. I will just say the buzz is beyond palpable right now in Chicago. People are all in on Justin Fields, as they should be. Did Saturday's performance encourage you, discourage you? Any thoughts on, and maybe just the general state of the Bears quarterback room? Because as we know, despite Justin Fields' draft status and potential, Andy Dalton will be their guy going into the regular season. That according to Matt Nagy.
It did not alter my perception of Justin Fields at all. Justin Fields is a rookie. He's going to have some bright spots. He's going to have some spots that he probably would like back.
Yeah.
Or some moments that he would like back. But at the end of the day, as we have seen many, many times, the fact that he has such ability with his legs means he will be a fantasy factor whenever he becomes a starter. Guys, Tim Tebow was a relevant fantasy quarterback, and he threw less than 10 passes a game. But because the rushing was so significant, he was like Taysom Hill.
8 touchdowns to 6 interceptions.
Right. Whatever it was. Yeah. Again, last year, Taysom Hill was a top 10 fantasy quarterback each of the weeks that he was in, that was a starter for New Orleans. Justin Fields, again, it may not be pretty. Hey, how about or Jalen Hurts last year? The 4 games as a rookie, Jalen Hurts started last year, top 9 fantasy quarterback on a points per game basis. Like Justin, no, nothing about the performance. You can pick apart,
it wasn't great.
This throw or that throw.
It was fine.
Right.
It was fine, but a lot of it was in spite of the circumstances around him. The offensive line was woeful.
Yep.
Receivers were not catching passes they should be catching. Tough day at the office. The Bills' defense just completely dominated them. And, again, there's no takeaway. The takeaway is what we thought going into the game, at least in my opinion, on Justin Fields. Like, still, as you said, offers immense upside if and when he becomes a starter. But I will say I previously thought he would be the week 1 starter, and I'm more and more convinced, especially after spending some time in and around Chicago this past weekend, that the Bears will go with Andy Dalton, especially when you're facing the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football in week 1. All right, let's go to the Jets and the Packers. And this game, basically no Packers of note play. They rested 32 players, did Matt LaFleur and Green Bay. Names that you know were not out there other than our guy, A.J. Dillon. The Jets, though, have another impressive performance from Zach Wilson, Matthew. I don't think it's enough to yet move Zach Wilson into the fantasy redraft conversation. But a few weeks back when we were doing our Jets Double Trouble, I made it clear that, like, Corey Davis is the Jets wide receiver I value most, and if I'm taking one, it's him. I know that Elijah Moore was the talk of camp before he got hurt with a quad injury. I think Saturday kind of reminded us that Corey Davis is just a good football player. Like, there's a reason why he was drafted 5th overall. I know he did not meet expectations, but he finished strong in his final 2 years at Tennessee, and he got a good contract, $37.5 million. Nothing to shake a stick at.
And he's going to get a massive target share. That seems to be clear from early going. The Jets are a team that are going to have to throw quite a bit. And, you'd like to see how does this play out with Elijah Moore out there. But regardless, like, Corey Davis is going to get a big target share. His current ADP is wide receiver 48. He's going in the 13th round. That's about where we all have him. I am slightly lower at wide receiver 50, although I think I'm going to move him up now after having seen the last 2 preseason games. I'm doing a sweep of my ranks today and tomorrow, obviously, as I do after every preseason weekend. And so he'll move up a little bit here. You have him at wide receiver 45. You're the highest among us, but we all think he's a wide receiver 4 or 5 with significant upside.
He's a value,
as we said, and as you and I both said, I understand the tantalizing upside of an Elijah Moore, but I think you and I both said when we did Jets Double Trouble, if we had to pick one of these guys that you needed to start, that you couldn't just take a flyer and I'm going to stick him at the end of the bench, and if he pops, he pops, and if he doesn't, I'll drop him in week 8 or whatever. If you needed a guy to start week 1, Corey Davis is clearly the guy.
The Jets running backs, though, might have a sort of a no man's land feel to them right now. So a lot of people have been ardent in their stance on Michael Carter, their 4th-round pick out of North Carolina. Really good pass-catching back. He's a little guy, 5'8", 200 or so pounds. But he is nifty as heck with the football in his hands, good in space and all those things. Looked pretty good in the first preseason game when he was getting some run with the sort of nominal starters for the Jets. He was not playing with the starters on Saturday, Matthew, and I think this reminded me that, I'm not saying there's a rule like you don't fade every player. There's no player I would entirely fade. Like at the right price, I would consider almost anybody in fantasy football. I have a hard time envisioning myself with a Jets running back on my roster to begin the regular season because Michael Pirine got some run. Of course, Tevin Coleman got some run. Heck, Ty Johnson got a little bit of run for them, just a little bit. Former Lions running back as well.
Former Lions great.
Yeah, sort of.
Former Lions great.
He's got speed. He's got long speed.
Yeah. I'm just not sure there's a workhorse back in this backfield. I think I'm fading the Jets for the most part in fantasy this year on running backs, at least specifically at running back.
I don't mind a flyer on Michael Carter. The problem is that the where you have to take him as a flyer is insane.
RB35.
Yeah, he's going like around Zach Moss and A.J. Dillon, 2 guys that I like so much more than Michael Carter. 2 guys that are playing for teams that we expect to be winning, we expect to be leading, we expect them to that have had good success rushing the ball. Of course, the problem with the Bills is that it's usually Josh Allen and not Zach Moss or Devin Singletary, but both the Packers and the Bills obviously successfully get to the end zone, get near the end zone a lot, and run touchdowns in. The Jets, I don't know how often they're going to be in scoring position, and I also don't know, like, again, we've talked about this. Their coaching staff is from San Francisco. Like their play caller, their head coach are all from the Kyle Shanahan school. They all came over from San Francisco where they used multiple running backs. And so what you have is you have a multiple running back situation on a bad team. Yeah. Listen, the Jets are heading in the right direction. I'm not trying to bag on the Jets. Like, I actually thought they had a great NFL draft. I'm a Joe Douglas believer. They're heading in the right direction, but this is likely a tough year for the Jets. It's a rebuilding year. And so until they get where they need to go, and there's still issues on that offensive line, although they're improving it, like, I don't get the investment in this offense, in the running backs of this offense at the current ADP.
Let's move forward here with the Falcons and the Dolphins. Dolphins win this game 37-17. Tua looked pretty sharp once again, but the most important thing here was that Myles Gaskin was working with the running back, with the starting group, I should say, on Saturday. He
never doubted it. Knew it all along. Never questioned.
27 yards and a touchdown, 4 catches, 44 yards and a touchdown as well. We can replay the tape from last week when Matthew was shaking his boots over Malcolm
Brown.
Malcolm Brown getting more work.
I don't have any boots. I don't have any boots, to be clear.
Well, it's a phrase. It's like an expression.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
My mom has boots. My daughters have boots. Yeah, my mom lives in Texas. My mom has boots.
Does your dad have boots?
Huh?
He lives in Texas. Does your dad have boots?
My dad has them. I didn't really wear them.
Oh, okay.
But they sent my daughters boots. My daughters have cute little boots.
That's nice.
Yeah. I have a pair of boots somewhere. I just don't wear them. They're not comfortable for me.
Oh, gotcha.
You gotta get the right
great.
kind of boots. I need you to pull them out and wear them tomorrow. Now that you said that you do have them somewhere.
Yeah, no. I like my dogs to bark. You know what I mean? And my dog's got to run free. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just not
I feed my
interested
dogs.
in any of this content. No, I understood that, and I was hoping that we weren't going to get to that point in the podcast.
It's like, you ever sit down and you're like, oh, man, my dogs are barking.
No, man. None of us are over 100 years old. Nobody's ever said that.
Happens. Sometimes when I wear boots and just not comfortable, and I'm just, ooh, man, my dogs are barking. They are barking. Woo, woo, roof, roof.
Field, I got to tell you something.
What kind of dog barks like that?
I was actually going to try and bring it back to the Dolphins.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead. No, you got it. Stephania and I are on the same page.
To talk football. No, I was just going to say there was a scary moment for Jalen Waddle in that game.
Yep.
And Jalen Waddle, who I know some people have been concerned because of the ankle coming into the pros, but he did get back up. Medical tent, came back, played, so you can rest comfortably there. I do think it's interesting, though. Devontae Parker, something undisclosed injury. Will Fuller dealing with a foot issue. Just keep an eye on the Dolphins wide receivers heading toward week 1.
Keep an eye on them and draft Jalen Waddle.
Okay, jokes about my feet and boots and dogs barking aside, we should talk about Myles Gaskin for a second. So I lowered him a little bit because I had him at running back 17, but I still have him as running back 20. I still think I have him higher than consensus. His current ADP, I believe, is running back 23. I could be wrong on that, but I certainly have him higher than consensus. Here's the thing about Myles Gaskin. I think he's the most talented running back in that backfield. He will absolutely get passing down work. Malcolm Brown will be involved, but certainly this performance was, I think, more indicative of what it is like to be in the regular season for Gaskin than week 1. We will see. Next week, the next game, week 3, always is sort of the most indicative, but, not so fast on Myles Gaskin.
And that's weird this year, right? Not to derail the podcast any more than we already have, but like week 3 is the most indicative week of the preseason. But this year, which week is the most indicative week of the preseason?
At the beginning of the show. Yeah. I don't know. I think there is. It's going to be different. Like I think some teams are going to punt entirely on the preseason, like the Chargers and the Rams, and some teams, maybe the Chiefs. That was the most we'll see out of Patrick Mahomes the entire preseason. He played a couple of drives on Friday night. I think there's a good chance that Aaron Rodgers will be on ice until week 1, and a variety of other superstars will be on ice until that time. All right, let's rip through just a couple more. Listen, there's not a lot that you can glean from many of these games, so we'll try to go maybe one takeaway at a time if there is anything of significance. The Ravens beat the Panthers 20-3, and I got to tell you, the most important part of this game, seriously, the Ravens have now won 19 straight preseason games. And I posted this on Twitter, and I got a lot of people, who cares? Count their playoff L's. I'm not saying it means anything.
A lot of your followers have deep voices. Super weird.
Yeah, weird. I make one of them.
They talk like that?
Yeah, they do. Anyways, people are like,
some of mine are like this.
Who cares, man? That's the worst stat ever. I care. It's completely irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the Ravens' playoff success or their chance for success this year. Right. The 0-16 Detroit Lions went 4-0 during the preseason.
Sure.
It's just amusing to me. So get over it. It's 19 straight preseason
Here's what it
games.
is. It's infotainment.
There you go. Infotainment.
You follow Field Yates for free. He doesn't owe you anything. Feel free to unfollow him.
That's right.
Feel free to unfollow him and come follow me at Matthew Berry TMR.
Yeah, I knew this was coming. I knew that this was going to happen.
The water's warm. My tweets are just as bad as Fields.
Worse
but
even.
I won't make
they're worse. Way sure. Worse.
They might be worse.
Yours are way worse.
Might be worse. Fields actually pretty good on Twitter.
It pained him so much to even say pretty.
I know. He's pretty good.
I'm better than Stephania or Daniel on Twitter. How about that?
Oh, my God. Don't flatter
you know
yourself.
what? That's up for debate.
Don't
stop
flatter
it.
yourself.
No, it's not.
Don't flatter yourself.
Stephania's feed is a lot of like
you bow
doctor.
at the
it's a lot of
a
lot of doctors.
Twitter.
No, Stephania's
weird.
Is like a lot of
the
medical
professional at ESPN.
Praise this doctor and praise that doctor. There's a lot of blah 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 medicine.
Matthews is like,
blah,
listen,
blah blah blah
Rogaine
blah blah.
didn't that work that well for me? Just for men, I'm just a little bit, came out and my hair was a little stronger.
Yeah.
So that's why we're on Keeps now. Go follow our friends Keeps, who is the sponsor of the podcast.
Hey,
Good job, Field.
Speaking of that,
come on.
Let's also talk about how you can watch new episodes of the Fantasy Show this week, Matthew Berry.
I would love to. You know why? Here's how you can do it. The Fantasy Show with Matthew Berry, hosted by Daniel Dopp, co-hosted by Daniel Dopp, whatever. And Stephen A. Bott. We Fantasy Show on ESPN Plus. We're gonna have 2 new episodes this week. Really exciting. And what we do here, one of the ways to get access to it is obviously you need a subscription to ESPN Plus, which you can certainly sign up for free. But you know what? For just a few bucks more than what it costs you to sign up for ESPN Plus, you can get a subscription to rotopass.com. Really, it's not that much more money. And in addition to ESPN Plus, 12 months of ESPN Plus, you get access to 5 great other premium content sites, draft software, customized ranks, no matter what kind of weird league you play in. All the projections, customized ranks, the ability to generate or values if you play like in a salary cap league, if you play in best ball, dynasty, Devy leagues, 2 quarterback league, like whatever quarterback kind of league you play, Superflex. Like for those that played in Scott Fishbowl, we had specific ranks for Scott Fishbowl. So anyway, unbelievable site. Check it out, rotopass.com. 5 great sites plus ESPN Plus. It's not much more money than ESPN Plus. It's literally the best bargain on the internet. And it's even cheaper if you use the promo code 06010. That gets you 10% off.
Nice, Matthew Berry. Hey, also shout out to our friend Peter Stark in the YouTube chat who said, I can't stand this hipster dude. I'm assuming he's talking about you, Field.
Right.
Probably.
Just because your shirt's so tight and you look so good in it and your jeans fit.
Gotta get
it's an HR violation over there.
What
are you doing?
You're right.
Stop
You're
talking
right.
about
You're right.
how Field looks. Hey, I'm just going to let you know Myles Gaskin's ADP dropped to running back 27, according to Thirsty Kyle.
Ooh, feels like a value to me at running back 23, where you said you have him.
No, I am at 20. You am at 23.
Still feels like
either
a
way.
value
We are both above consensus on Myles Gaskin.
All right, we'll wrap up with some preseason takes in just a minute. But first, did you know that Tony Romo is a motivational speaker now? All this football season, Tony and Corona are remotivating football fans, to live the game day good life. Let Tony unlock your football fan potential at Romotivation.com. There you can launch an augmented reality experience that will put Tony in your living room or at the bar next to you while you watch the game. It's true, you can be better at watching football. Let Romo and Corona show you how to live the game day good life. Visit Romotivation.com now. Please drink responsibly. Corona Extra Beer imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Fantasy football season is right around the corner, and that means more of what you love. The teams, the rivalries, the stats, trash talking to friends. Your favorite fantasy stars like Kyler Murray, Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, and Baker Mayfield, they all rely on Body Armor to get them to the next level and perform at their best and give you the trash talking points that you need. And hey, this fall is a great time to up your game too. Body Armor's got you covered. Everybody is focused on staying active and healthy and hydrated. Staying hydrated is an important part of that. All right, it's more than just a sports drink. Made with potassium-packed electrolytes, antioxidants, no artificial sweeteners or flavors or dyes. And get this, now through December 31st, buy any one Body Armor product, upload your receipt at www.bafootballtailgate.com, and you'll be entered for a chance to win one of hundreds of amazing prizes for your next tailgate. That's www.bafootballtailgate.com. Upload your receipt. You'll be entered for a chance to win one of hundreds of amazing prizes for your next tailgate. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Open to residents of U.S. 18 and older.
By the way, so at my house this a couple of days ago, got a case of Body Armor.
Yeah, you did.
So,
Yeah, you did.
And let me tell you, who's super psyched about it is my 17-year-old. So I have a 17-year-old son. He plays on. He's going to be a junior in high school this year. He plays on the football team. It's all he drinks.
Really?
It's all he drinks. He is so excited. He's just like, oh, this is the greatest sponsor your podcast has ever had.
Do you feel like
I didn't get any of them. I was just
'Cause
like,
he
hey,
took
where's
all
the?
of them?
He took all of them.
That's
they were
amazing.
They're immediately in the fridge. Like he has a fridge for his stuff. Like anyway, yeah.
Is it like would you say it ranks like amongst your favorite pre-workout liquid hydration options?
Sure. Because you know what you need to do. Because after you drink it, you don't actually need to work out.
Oh, really?
It's part of
That's
my
how it
workout
works?
routine.
Okay, it
And
is
you're
your
asking
workout routine.
right? What's the other part of my workout routine? Well, then I take a shower. like I do the pre stuff, and then I do what you do after. It's the middle part that I'm
Gotcha.
working on.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are exactly their target demographic.
That is.
That's why I mentioned my kid. My kid
that's
is
right.
my 17-year-old is actually super athletic. He's really good. He is going to be the starting running back on his high school football team.
Let's go.
He didn't play last year, obviously, because of COVID, but his freshman year, his freshman high school team here in Connecticut went undefeated, won their league, won their games by an average score of 28-3. He was their starting running back and their starting outside linebacker and was named MVP of the team at the end of the year banquet.
Wow.
So,
Big deal.
He is clearly,
He's clearly got all
He's
of
got
Beth's
there's,
genes.
there's clearly some genetics in there that have nothing to do with
Yeah,
me.
a lot of Beth's genes.
A lot of exactly, but no, he's a tough kid and a great little football player. Yeah.
All right, let's move back to the preseason takeaways from week 2. The Lions played the Steelers, Daniel's Lions. They lose 26-20. The Steelers get their second win of the preseason. I don't know. It's all their third win of the preseason. Excuse me. They're
Did
undefeated.
they just not eat enough kneecaps pregame, you think? What happened?
Oh, wow. Jeez. You're very,
No Jared
very
Goff.
funny.
Barely
Okay.
any of the starters played. Pratt Fryermuth looked actually pretty nice at tight end, if I'm
Yeah.
being
And
honest.
here's a little funny
did.
story about Pat. This is not a funny story. It's a true story. You were talking about your son and him being a dominant high school football player. I can tell you this. Pat Fryermuth is a dominant high school football player. As a matter of fact, he's the second best athlete in the history of the Brooks School in North Andover, Massachusetts.
Okay.
You know number one is?
I do not know who number
Chapin
one is.
Yates.
baby.
Chapin
That's
Yates.
right.
I
Chapin
knew
Yates.
that.
Just swiveling all over the
See,
hockey
field?
field.
One of us
Oh, yeah,
pays
paying
attention.
I love watching. I'm like, I have a biased opinion of Pat Fryermuth because I watched him since he was literally 15 years old. And when you're from where I'm from, which is Massachusetts, when someone calls you Baby Gronk, it's a big deal, right? Which it should be anyways. And he was getting that nickname thrown around by like the age of 15, and he looks like freaking Baby Gronk out there.
Yeah.
2 touchdown catches. He looked like a really good player. I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to have 2 tight ends when you already have 3 wide receivers that we believe are going to be fantasy factors this
But
year.
Field, think about Baby Gronk at his prime.
I know. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Right.
you're right. I feel like what you're saying is Fryermuth is like a baby Logan Thomas.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
That's what I think
Fryermuth.
you're saying is.
Really good player, though.
Yeah, listen, really interesting for Dynasty.
Yes.
Hard him seeing having consistent fantasy value there as long as Eric Ebron is around.
Good draft pick, and I think somebody that went way undervalued relative to where he should have gone in the real NFL draft. Honestly, I don't really have a takeaway from the Titans and the Bucs other than a piece of news here from Adam Schefter this morning, as he reported that despite the fact that A.J. Brown has been either limited or absent in several practices recently in Tennessee, that A.J. Brown is expected to be ready for the start of the regular season. I'm just going to ask a question here, Stephania, to you. And I could be speaking way out of turn. And if I am, you just tell me, hey, Field, just some context, some information here. A.J. Brown's a young guy, 23. He's had a decent amount of knee management already up to this point. Is it concerning at all for his long-term prospects?
Long-term, perhaps. I mean, certainly.
I'm thinking dynasty leagues. He's 23, 24.
Right. But I don't think, when I say long-term, I mean, I'm projecting out beyond 4 or 5 years. So if you look what happened last year, he had a bone bruise. We found out at the end of the season that he underwent a surgical procedure actually on both knees. And that's when we learned that maybe he was considered being shut down earlier in the year, but he really advocated for wanting to play. One of the things the Titans did very well was they managed him across the course of the season. I don't think that should necessarily be held against him. The fact that he was able to play in a situation where others might not have is something that could be on the positive side. One of the things I said when Julio Jones went to Tennessee is they have done a really good job of managing their players. They have a history of that to make them available during 4 games, and that they manage them very well and distribute their workload across the week very well. So I wasn't really that surprised to see this, and I don't take it as a huge alarm.
Okay, that's good news there, that not major alarm right now. Should be ready for week 1 of the regular season. I suspect throughout the year we're going to see a lot of Julio Jones and or A.J. Brown limited in practice.
Days off.
Not practicing, veteran days. One of them is a legit veteran, Julio Jones. One of them's only in his 3rd year. But get used to that down there in Tennessee. I'm going to go through just a couple more takeaways.
I thought this was an interesting question, though, on our sheet here. If you are somebody who is drafting one of the elite running backs at the top of the draft, right? The CMCs, the Cooks, the Camaras, the Henrys, the Zekes, et cetera, Barkley even. Is Derrick Henry the only one that you don't feel great about insurance? Meaning, like, it feels like with McCaffrey, it feels like it's Chuba Hubbard, feels like with, Kamara, it's obviously Latavius Murray, Tony Pollard for Zeke, et cetera. You can go down the line.
Cook is Alexander Madison, really
Alexander Madison, obviously, for Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
So, Derrick Henry, is it Jeremy McNichols? Is it Darrington Evans? Yeah. I think it's Evans, but I don't think we have really a lot of evidence to support that.
I agree with the take that I'm not sure who the clear-cut running back would be, and as we know, it's not always that a starting running back goes down and someone just takes the role that that player was filling. It's often split among several players. So I feel like Tennessee, maybe Carolina. We'll see. I do think that Chuba is probably the best bet. 4th-round pick.
Is that how I thought it was Chuba.
Chuba.
Okay,
Hubbard.
sorry.
4th-round
Apologies to Mr. Hubbard.
And by the way, and Derrick Henry, I mean, we always talk about he's sort of a unicorn of running backs and the way he's built and the way he runs. So no matter who backs him up, they're not going to be him when they're on the field, and that's probably why he's different.
30 or so carries in a game is very irregular for everybody, not named Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's right. By the way, I mean, I get that a lot too. What people say to me, Matthew, you're kind of a unicorn in how you're built. It's the opposite.
How would you describe how you're built?
Yeah, well, exactly. They're just like, wait, how is it you're put together with like the inside of Snickers and saltwater taffy
What
and
was
like
your favorite term? Was it doughy? Was that your favorite term?
Doughy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very doughy. Yeah, exactly. My guess is you looked inside of me, it's just like one big gummy bear. And like you're just like, how do you exist on a daily basis? And I'm like, I don't know.
What'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a bacon and a bagel with bacon and egg on it.
Okay.
And a Diet Coke.
Breakfast of champions.
Yep. Listen, I'm addicted to Diet Coke.
It
is what it is. Like you know what I mean?
You got
like
off of it though.
I know we got you on more water for a while, and
I know.
You know what we could do?
Body armor water.
Body armor water.
Body armor is really good.
Maybe I should do some body armor. I will say this. Here's the thing. I do not smoke. I do not do drugs. Like literally never in my life.
Okay.
Except for me.
Huh?
Except for me. Like I am your drug.
Well, obviously.
My love is your drug.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah.
But like, and I drink moderately. I drink socially. So,
but when you do,
hammering those margaritas. You are so fun.
I'm a fun drunk.
I love hanging out with Matthew Berry.
I'm a fun drunk. I am a fun drunk.
show.
There's some people that have been drunk with me, and Stephania is one of them, can testify to this. I'm a fun drunk. I'm a upbeat, happy drunk. I'm not. Some people get angry when they get drunk or paranoid or what.
No, that's you
drunk.
most of the time. But when you're drunk, you're actually fun to hang out with.
I'm much more pleasant.
You're way more pleasurable.
Much more, way more pleasurable to be around when I'm drunk.
Oh my goodness.
But so I'm just merely saying is like I don't have a ton of vices, but one of them is I drink way too much carbonated soda, and I drink. And I don't eat particularly healthy, but I'm trying to get better on that.
I think
so. I'm just owning it.
Yeah,
right?
I think
I'm owning my own stuff.
One of my biggest vices is that I always have to go to Stephania to talk about injury analysis. And I heard that Carson Wentz was starting with the first team this week. And Stephania, I'm sorry to do this on air.
Brilliant segue.
Yeah, what is Daniel? Wow.
That
So
was
well done.
very
You're professional.
crafty.
Well, I just always go to you for my injury
Yes,
stuff and
well,
whatever you say. I mean, you're the smartest one here.
Well, we
so.
did hear news yesterday that Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson were expected to be back working today in practice, both of them having the same foot surgery a couple of weeks ago. And Mike Wells tweeted this morning that even though Carson Wentz was expected to be limited, he was out there doing all the first team reps in 1-on-1s and 7-on-7s. So it looked like he was very much involved in practice, and I would just say we take that as a good sign. Obviously, you always want to know how the players do after the first day they get back involved in practice, but things certainly trending better for Carson Wentz.
And Wentz has already said this morning he is optimistic about playing in week 1. So just to further the point that Stephania was just making, Matthew, what do you got?
I have a question just because we mostly talked about your Twitter feed during the Ravens-Panthers game recap.
Oh, my gosh.
So I want to bring it back.
pages ago.
Yeah, but I'm bringing it back. Whatever. It's fine. Someone has to keep the show on track.
You know what? Ramondre Stevenson's pretty interesting.
Stop it, Field. Stop it. That was Thursday night.
How good are the
Ramondre
Niners?
Stevenson is pretty interesting. All right, question for you. Here's my question for you.
I'm on.
Bunch of jerks. Yes. How much longer do I have on this podcast? Daniel just walked off. And I'm so jealous because I want to be out of here too.
I'm taking my stuff. I'm out of here.
Yeah. If you're watching on the live feed, literally there's an empty microphone. Daniel literally just got up and walked out of the building.
We didn't even
out
make
of
it
the
to
room.
the regular season.
Now
this will
be great. This will be great. Will the now that we don't have a producer, will anyone be able to tell any difference in audio quality?
Wow.
Will it be able to get? I mean,
Wow.
like because Daniel may have overplayed his hand.
Wow.
Because, I'm just saying, like, what happens if like everyone's just like, I couldn't tell there was no producer there.
You know what we should do, though,
what do you got?
We should, to audition the replacement for Daniel.
Right.
What did they call the ESPN game show? It was Tony Kornheiser and a couple others who were
2-minute drill?
No, when they actually hired
Mike Hall
Hall
I remember that.
about becoming a sportscaster.
It
right?
was what was it called?
Dream Job. Yes,
Dream
of course.
Job.
Pat
Shout out
Harrington,
to
who
Pat
our
Harrington.
producer,
in our ears. The actual producer.
Yes. We should do like a Dream Job style for like the audio podcaster. I mean, the audio
Oh my
producer
gosh.
to take over for Daniel. All right,
That would be amazing.
We've only got a couple. We've got just a couple minutes left. So
Quick,
let's
here's my
and I want to get
question.
to Trey Lance after this. Whatever.
Yeah. Very
question.
quick. Very quickly. Terrace Marshall caught all 3 of his targets. Got him for 50 yards. He's had a very buzzy camp. Last season, the Panthers had wide receiver 28, wide receiver 27, 28, and 29 on a per-game basis. That was a year, however, with no Chris McCaffrey.
Yep.
And a year where their defense was brutal. I think their defense will be improved. I'm not saying it's great defense, but I do think they will have a middle-of-the-pack defense this year.
I think your logic is very sound.
So my question is Terrace Marshall a thing? Should we be paying more attention to him? Or is this just like he's going to have some nice games, but in terms of rookies, unless something were to happen to McCaffrey, Anderson, or DJ Moore, he's probably best left on the waiver wire except in keeper leagues, dynasty leagues, or really deep leagues?
That's where I feel as well. Because I think this is sort of in line with what we discussed in Double Trouble last week, was that if Christian McCaffrey stays and plays 17 games, you got to figure somewhere between
100 targets at least.
I would say 120 to 140 targets most likely for him, which is like 7 or so a game. That's hard to just 120 targets go to him, 120 go to DJ Moore, 125 go to Robbie Anderson. That's already, that's a ton of targets, right? For a team that probably only throws the ball 500 times, 600 times at max, right? Like that would be a pretty clear and obvious, almost every down role for Terrace Marshall Jr. right away with a legit chemistry with Sam Darnold, who we have barely seen so far this preseason. There's been no talk, for better or worse, about Sam Darnold in the preseason. It's been a very nondescript camp for him up to this point. Let's wrap the show up here with an important important part of it. The 49ers played last night, Stephania, and do you want to offer your thoughts? You want me to give you mine, and you just ping pong off of that and see. You can sort of correct me if I'm wrong here.
Go ahead. You
so
start.
Trey Lance did not start last night. Jimmy Garoppolo started. Trey Lance came in after a couple of drives, played with some of the regulars, but a lot of backups as well against a lot of the Chargers backups. Trey Lance finished with 2 touchdown passes. But this would be a game that I think he'll have more to learn from rather than more things to replicate going forward. It felt like last night, whether it was pressure, I'm not sure what it was, but he was throwing, this was a Roldis Chapman fastball only last night. Everything was like a million miles an hour.
He did play baseball in high school, and it felt like we were seeing baseball last night. I think this has been a little of a pattern with him in games, and I think he comes out on fire, whether it's adrenaline. Just remember, he hasn't played a lot of football recently. So I think I was glad that Kyle Shanahan left him in. So even after the half, he was continuing to play. You saw him settle down, and I think you just saw a lot better performance. And I know people were saying he's playing against the Chargers backups, but I thought that the changes really were reflected in him controlling the ball and delivering it more accurately. I think the conversation afterward, of course, is everybody's asking the question, what's going to happen? Is it going to be Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance? And Kyle Shanahan has been very careful in his words to the media, and I heard it again when I was out there at camp. He basically said during the days I was there that Trey Lance would play football this year, and then made a joke saying, okay, I know you're all going to run to Twitter on that, but he was talking about packages designed for him. So what he said last night I thought was very interesting, and I think Matt Barrows, who writes for The Athletics, covered the team for a long time, he captured it very well. He said, Kyle Shanahan said 2 things. He said, Jimmy Garoppolo began training camp as the starter, and nothing has happened to change that order. And the second thing he said is he's not ready to declare that Garoppolo will be his week 1 starter. And I think those 2 things work together because they played Detroit the first week. Why would they want to necessarily declare a starter now? It does them no good. Kyle Shanahan said before that Jimmy G plays better when there's the fire of competition underneath him. So I think he's just leaving it out there and letting it hang out there for people to buzz over. But I don't think it has really changed anything as of this moment.
Yeah, I think for a while I was expecting that both Trey Lance and Justin Fields, and for that matter, Mac Jones, had a legit shot at starting in week 1. I truly believe all 3 of the veterans, right now, I really believe all 3 of the veterans will have those starting jobs for some period of time to begin the season. I don't feel differently about Trey Lance overall. I just thought that it was clear that, clearly accuracy and touch are going to be the 2 things that he has to hone in this season and every season going forward to reach the super duper star potential that he has.
I'm not changing my ranking on him. I'm at QB 17. I get it. He doesn't currently have a job. I believe the upside on him is so massive that he is worth grabbing and stashing when you're in that range.
And by the way, not a lot of running so far from Trey Lance, which I'm not surprised by that. Coaches don't tend to want to leave their quarterbacks vulnerable during the preseason, so I am not surprised they've basically had zero quarterback runs thus far in the preseason for Trey Lance. We got a couple minutes left here on the show.
Fields, do you mind if I say something?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I know you're going to go with this, so I agree with what you're going to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something. Our buddy Tags, who's a member of the fantasy community, it works for Fantasy Pros, has been in the hospital dealing with COVID for a little while. Had some, it got pretty serious yesterday with a couple of things, had to be intubated. And so we just wanted to give a shout out to him and let him know that we're thinking about you and the family and everyone else. And if you guys just want to give your thoughts and prayers and whatever goodness that you want to send their way, I'm sure that they would be very appreciative of it.
And man, Daniel, I know his family is going through a lot right now, and Tags, keeping our prayers for you, bud, and hope you come back stronger on the other side, and sooner rather than later as well.
He's legitimately a good not that you need a good person to root for somebody's health, but he's legitimately a good, supportive person in the fantasy community, and so. Yeah, sending all the prayers and love from the 06010 to him and his family.
Echoing everything you guys said.
Well said, and Tags, we're thinking about you until you are back out of the hospital. That's all we got for today. But before we say goodbye, Field's Favorites, which is how we decided to phrase the column, is now available on ESPN Plus on the website. I believe there was 9 players in total on the list, which included One quarterback, Trey Lance. So he made the list, despite the fact I don't have him ranked right now.
I was going to say, I have him ranked at 17. You don't have him ranked, but he made your Field's favorites.
It's going to be, and some of it's like philosophical, right? Like if he's only going to play 12 games or what have you, how are you ranking him going into drafts, et cetera, et cetera. That'll be adjusted, but Field's favorites is live right now on ESPN+.
Daniel, do you think, it's weird. It's because I read the article. I thought Field did a really good job here. But like he listed Field his favorites, and I didn't see my name anywhere.
Yeah, it was weird.
That was by
super
design.
awkward.
I did notice that.
You know what he listed?
Super awkward.
He listed,
We
you
have
know what
no
he
more
listed,
time
Matthew?
left.
Athletes.
There we go. Thanks for watching the Fantasy Focus Football
What are you saying about
Podcast,
me?
presented by Hotwire. We've got the Cardinals and Rams queued up for Double Trouble tomorrow. Football on ESPN tonight. It's Jags and Saints. Tune in and watch it. Talk to you later.
Peace out.